The listing had been online for only 16 minutes when Nita saw it. House for sale, $700. Cash only. As is. No inspections. No photos. No details. Just an address and a warning in plain words. Buyer accepts all risks. Most people would have laughed and scrolled away. Some would have screenshotted it as a joke. A few might have felt curious for a second and then remembered the news stories about that side of the city and shut the thought down fast. Nita did not laugh. She stared at the number until it stopped looking like a typo. Then she stared at the address. She knew the area. Everyone did. It was the place parents mentioned when they wanted to scare their kids into coming home early. It was the place drivers avoided even in daylight. It was the place where streetlights worked only when they felt like it, and where a new name for a gang appeared on the wall every few weeks as if the walls were fighting for ownership. And still, a quiet part of her mind said, it's a house. Not a room. Not a rented corner. Not a shared kitchen with strangers. A house. Nita was 28 and tired in a way that sleep never fixed. She worked 2 jobs, early mornings at a small clinic filing records, and evenings doing deliveries on her old motorbike. She did not buy new clothes. She did not eat out. She had been saving for years, but saving in a city like hers felt like trying to fill a bucket with a crack. Every time she got close to a goal, life happened. Medicine for her father's cough, rent going up, the bike needing repairs, bills she did not understand until they arrived. That day had been worse than most. The clinic's owner had hinted that hours might be cut. The delivery app had lowered rates again. And her landlord had slipped a note under her door that said the rent would increase next month. Nita had sat on her bed and felt something inside her reach a hard edge. Not anger. Not sadness. Something colder. A decision. She clicked the listing and called the number. A man answered on the 3rd ring. His voice sounded bored, like he was reading the same script all day. You calling about the house? He asked. Yes, Nita said, trying to sound calm. It's cheap for a reason, the man said. You got cash. I can bring cash, she replied. You understand it's in District 9, he said, and when he said the name, it sounded like a warning and a joke at the same time. I understand, Nita said. The man paused. People don't usually understand. I do, Nita repeated. Another pause. Meet me at the corner store on Conn Street in 1 hour. Don't be late. The line went dead. Nita sat very still. Then she opened the drawer where she kept her savings, a thick envelope wrapped in cloth, hidden under winter socks and old papers. She counted quickly, hands shaking. It was enough, barely. Enough for the house and the small fees the man would surely demand. It was almost everything she had. The sensible part of her mind tried to grab the steering wheel and yank the decision away. No photos. No inspections. Dangerous area. Why would anyone sell a house for $700 unless the house was broken? Unless something was wrong with it? Unless something happened there? But another part of her, stronger today, said, even if it's broken, it's still a start. And I am done waiting for a perfect start that will never come. She put the money in her bag, zipped it, and went out. District 9 did not welcome visitors. It tolerated them. By the time Nita reached the corner store, the air already felt different. It smelled like dust and old smoke, like buildings that had held too many secrets and too many fights. Shops had metal shutters even in daytime. People stood in small groups, watching the street without talking. When Nita stopped her bike, a few heads turned. Not openly, not like a movie scene. Just enough to make her stomach tighten. The man from the phone was leaning against the store wall. He wore a dark cap pulled low and a jacket that looked too warm for the season. He looked at Nita like she was late even though she wasn't. You came, he said. I said I would, Nita answered. He pushed off the wall and nodded toward a side street. Walk with me. Bike stays. Nita hesitated. Leaving her bike felt wrong. But she also knew that arguing here could turn into something worse. She locked the bike and followed. The side street was narrow. 2 stray dogs moved away from them without barking. A broken window above them rattled in the wind. The man walked like he belonged, like the street was his. Nida kept her shoulders steady and her eyes forward. "My name's Farouk," the man said finally, like he was tossing the information over his shoulder. "Nida," she replied. Farouk glanced at her bag. "Money in there?" "Yes." "Good," he said. "Listen, I'm not here to talk you into it. I'm here to finish the deal. You got questions, ask now." Nida swallowed. "Why so cheap?" Farouk's mouth twitched. "Because nobody wants it." "That's not a reason," Nida said. "It is in District 9, he replied. She pushed. "What happened in the house?" Farouk stopped walking so suddenly she almost bumped into him. He turned and looked at her with a tired kind of warning. "You really want to know?" he asked. "Yes," Nida said, and surprised herself with how firm her voice sounded. Farouk exhaled. "A family lived there. Man, wife, kid. The man got mixed up with people he shouldn't have. One night, he didn't come home. Next week, the wife left with the kid. People say they ran. People say they were warned. People say the house got marked. Then it sat. Then some boys used it. Then nobody used it. Then, it became the kind of place even thieves don't enter unless they're desperate." Nida felt a chill despite the heat. "Marked by who?" Farouk started walking again. "Does it matter? You buying walls and a roof, not peace." Nida clenched her jaw. Walls and a roof. That still sounded better than being pushed out of her rented room. They turned a corner, and the house appeared. It was smaller than she expected. 2 floors, narrow, pressed between a closed shop and an empty lot filled with weeds. The paint was peeling. The front gate hung slightly crooked. One upstairs window was cracked like a spider web. But the structure was still standing. The roofline looked straight. The foundation didn't sag. It wasn't a pile of ruins. It was a real house, just abandoned, like a person who had been forgotten. Farouk pulled a key from his pocket. "Last chance. You walk away, I don't blame you." Nida stared at the front door. She imagined herself inside, cleaning, fixing, painting. She imagined a safe corner that belonged to her. She imagined locking a door and knowing nobody could say, "Leave." "I'm not walking away," she said. Farouk's eyebrows rose slightly. "All right. Cash first." Nida opened the bag, pulled out the wrapped bundle, and handed it to him. Farouk counted quickly, too quickly for her comfort, and then tucked it away like it was nothing. He handed her a folded paper. "Simple transfer. You sign, I sign. Not official like big offices, but enough for this place. You want official, you go pay 10 times the house price in fees. Your choice." Nida read it. It was basic, messy, but clear. The house at this address transferred for $700. She signed. Farouk scribbled his name. Then Farouk held out the key. "Congratulations," he said, but there was no warmth in it. Only finality. Nida took the key. It felt heavy. Farouk stepped back. "One more thing. Don't stay out here at night until you understand the rules." "The rules?" Nida asked. Farouk's gaze slid down the street. "District 9 has its own way. You mind your business. You don't look like you're scared. You don't act like you're rich. You don't ask questions about the wrong people. And if somebody knocks after dark, you don't open." Nida nodded slowly. Farouk turned away. "Good luck, Nida." Then he walked off like the deal never happened. Nida stood alone in front of her new house. The street was quiet, but the quiet didn't feel peaceful. It felt like something holding its breath. She put the key into the lock. The lock resisted, then clicked, like it was surprised to still be used. Nita pushed the door. It opened with a long groan, and air moved out of the house in a slow wave, carrying the smell of dust, damp wood, and something else she couldn't name. Something faint and metallic. She stepped inside. The living room was dim. Light leaked through the window, but it was filtered by grime. The floorboards creaked under her weight. Old curtains hung like tired flags. A broken chair lay on its side. The walls had stains that looked like shadows of old furniture. The house felt watched. Nita told herself it was her imagination. Empty houses always felt strange. It was just silence and dust and old memories. She took one step deeper. On the far wall, faintly visible under layers of dirt, someone had painted a symbol. A circle with a line through it. It was rough, like it had been done in a hurry. Under it, in smaller letters, there was a word. Nita leaned closer. Leave. Her throat tightened. Her eyes moved across the room quickly. No movement. No sound. Just the wind outside and the distant hum of the city. She forced herself to breathe slowly. It's just paint. People do this to scare others. It's an empty house. I own it now. She walked into the next room, which looked like a kitchen. Cabinets were open. A few plates sat broken on the floor. The sink was dry and stained. The back door had a bolt lock and a chain. Nita tested the bolt. It worked. She checked the windows. Most were intact, though the frames were old. Upstairs would be bedrooms, she thought. She should check upstairs. The stairs creaked louder than the floor. Each step sounded like a warning. Halfway up, she noticed something strange. The dust on the steps was not smooth. There were marks. Footprints. Small ones, like a child's, and larger ones beside them. And they were not old. The edges were sharp, fresh in the dust. Nita froze, 1 foot on a step, one hand gripping the railing. Her heart kicked hard against her ribs. Someone has been here. She tried to listen. The house was silent. But silence didn't mean empty. Silence could mean careful. She forced herself to climb the rest of the way, slowly, trying not to make sound. Upstairs, the hallway was narrow. Doors on both sides. A bathroom at the end. The cracked window was here, letting in a thin blade of light. Nita opened the first door. A small bedroom. The walls were bare. The floor had scattered trash. Nothing else. She opened the second door. This room was different. It looked like someone had been using it recently. Not living fully, but staying. There was a thin mattress on the floor. A plastic bottle of water. A small pile of wrappers. And on the wall, taped with yellowing tape, were newspaper clippings. Nita stepped closer. The headlines were about District 9. About raids. About missing people. About fires. About a woman who disappeared 2 years ago. About a child who was never found. Nita's mouth went dry. On the mattress was a notebook. It was open, as if someone had been writing and stopped suddenly. The ink looked dark and new. Nita stared at the page. The words were written in hurried, uneven handwriting. If you found this house for sale, it means the mark faded. They think nobody remembers. But the house remembers. The walls remember. Do not sleep here on your first night. Nita's hands shook as she read. Another line. If you are reading this, they might already know you are here. A soft sound came from below. Not a creak. Not the wind. A sound like a door closing gently. Nita's entire body went cold. She stood perfectly still, eyes wide, listening. Then came the next sound. Footsteps. Slow, steady footsteps on the stairs. Coming up. Nita backed away from the notebook, her mind racing. The hallway behind her looked suddenly too long, too narrow. Her phone was in her pocket, but calling the police here. Would they come? And if they did, would it help or make it worse? The footsteps reached the top step. A shadow moved under the hallway light. Someone was standing just outside the room. Nita's breath caught. Then a voice spoke. Low. Calm. Too calm. You shouldn't be here. Nita's mouth opened, but no sound came out. The shadow shifted, and a face appeared in the doorway, not fully visible, but enough. A man. Older than her. Rough beard. Eyes that looked tired, not crazy. He didn't hold a weapon that she could see, but his presence alone felt like a threat. He looked at her like she was the problem in his day. This house isn't for you, he said quietly. Nita forced her voice to work. I bought it. The man's eyes flicked toward the notebook on the mattress, then back to her. You bought paper, he said. Not the truth. Nita swallowed hard. Who are you? The man took one slow step into the room. Someone trying to keep you alive. He nodded toward the notebook. Did you read it? Nita nodded. His face tightened slightly. Then you know enough to leave right now. Nita's heart pounded. Why? What is waiting here? The man held her gaze for a long moment, as if deciding whether she deserved the real answer. Then he said a sentence that made her blood run colder than fear ever could. Because the thing inside this house, he whispered, is not a ghost story. And from somewhere inside the walls, very faint, very real, came a sound like a child quietly humming. Nita's eyes filled with shock. The man's voice dropped even lower. They're awake, he said. And they know you opened the door. Nita did not know how long she stood there, frozen between the man and the doorway, listening to that soft humming drifting through the walls. It was not loud. It was not clear. But it was steady, like someone repeating the same tune again and again without caring who heard it. The man raised one finger slowly, pressing it to his lips. Don't speak, he whispered. The humming stopped. The silence that followed felt heavier than noise. It pressed against Nita's ears until her head began to ache. The man leaned closer. They listen for fear, he said quietly. And for names. Nita nodded, barely daring to breathe. He stepped back and motioned for her to follow him into the hallway. His movements were careful, practiced, like someone who had done this before many times. Nita copied him, placing her feet where he did, avoiding loose boards. They moved toward the stairs. The house felt different now. Less empty. More aware. At the top of the stairs, the man stopped and listened. He tilted his head, eyes half closed, as if reading something invisible in the air. Then he nodded once and continued. Downstairs, the living room was darker. Clouds had passed over the sun, blocking what little light the windows offered. The painted word on the wall looked bolder now. Leave. The man stopped in front of it. This was the warning, he said. People ignore warnings. Nita found her voice again. Who are they? The man hesitated. Depends who you ask. Some say it's a group. Some say it's a system. Some say it's just fear that learned how to move. That doesn't make sense, Nita whispered. He gave a dry smile. District 9 doesn't care about sense. He walked to the kitchen and checked the back door bolt, testing it twice. Then he moved to the windows, pulling the curtains just enough to look out. Did anyone see you come in? He asked. I don't think so, Nita said. I came alone. That's bad, he replied. Her chest tightened. How is that bad? He turned to face her. Because if you came with someone, they might assume you were protected. Nita felt a wave of regret crash into her. Buying the house had felt bold. Being inside it now felt foolish. You said you're trying to keep me alive, she said. Why? The man studied her face. Because I failed once. Nita waited. He sighed and rubbed his forehead. My name is Salim. I used to live 2 streets from here. I knew the family that owned this place before. The woman and the child? Nita asked. Salim nodded. Yes. What happened to them? Salim's jaw tightened. They were smart. They left early. but not early enough. Nida felt a chill. They're alive. For now, Salim said. Somewhere else. Always moving. And the man? Nida asked. Salim looked at the floor. He didn't leave. The words hung between them. Nida swallowed. Then what is this house? Salim met her eyes. A message. Before Nida could ask more, a knock came at the front door. It was soft. Polite. One knock. A pause. Another knock. Salim moved instantly, placing himself between Nida and the door. Do not answer, he whispered. The knock came again, a little firmer this time. Nida's heart hammered. She had been warned not to open the door after dark. But it was still daytime. Or maybe not. The house was so dim she could no longer tell. A voice came through the door. Calm. Friendly. Hello, the voice said. Anyone home? Salim closed his eyes for a brief moment, then opened them again. They already know, he muttered. The voice continued. We heard someone moved in. Just neighbors saying welcome. Nida felt her hands tremble. What do we do? She whispered. Salim leaned close. We wait. The doorknob turned slowly, then stopped. The bolt held. Silence returned. Then a soft laugh drifted through the wood. Stubborn, the voice said. Just like the last one. Nida's breath caught. Footsteps moved away from the door. Not rushed. Not angry. Patient. Salim let out a slow breath. They're testing, he said. Seeing if you panic. Who was that? Nida asked. Salim shook his head. A watcher. Maybe more than one. Nida's legs felt weak. She leaned against the wall. I can't stay here, she said. No, Salim agreed. Not tonight. But I just bought it, she said, her voice breaking. I gave everything. Salim's expression softened. I know. Nida laughed softly, almost hysterically. This is what I get for hoping. Salim watched her carefully. Hope is not the problem. Timing is. He walked to the kitchen table and pulled out a chair. Sit. Nida sat without arguing. Salim spoke quietly. This house sits on a line. Not a real line. A line of power. Control. People fought over it without knowing why. The man who lived here made a deal to stay safe. He thought walls could protect him. And? Nida asked. And the walls learned too much, Salim said. Nida remembered the humming. Is there really someone inside the walls? Salim hesitated. Not in the way you think. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded map. He spread it on the table. Look, he said, pointing. Old utility tunnels. Built decades ago. Forgotten. They run under District 9 like veins. Nida's eyes widened. You mean, under this house? Yes, Salim said. Directly under it. Nida thought of the notebook. The house remembers. People use the tunnels, Salim continued. For moving things. For hiding. For watching. This house became a doorway. And the humming? Nida asked. Salim's eyes darkened. Signals. A sudden thud came from upstairs. Both of them froze. Another thud followed, closer to the stairs. Something was moving above them. Salim stood slowly. They're not waiting anymore. Nida's fear turned sharp. We need to go. Salim nodded. Grab only what you can carry. I don't have anything, Nida said. Salim gave her a look. You have yourself. That's enough. Another sound came, this time from the walls. A low vibration, like someone knocking from the inside. Salim grabbed Nida's arm. Back door. Now. They moved quickly but quietly. The kitchen felt smaller than before, like the walls had leaned in. Salim unbolted the door, and opened it just enough to look outside. The alley behind the house was empty. "Stay close," Salim whispered. They slipped out and closed the door gently behind them. The air outside felt colder, cleaner. Nida didn't realize how much she had been holding her breath until she exhaled hard. They moved down the alley, then turned left, then right, following a path that felt planned. "Where are we going?" Nida whispered. "A safe place," Salim said. "For tonight." As they walked, Nida glanced back once. For a moment, she thought she saw movement in the upstairs window. A small shape. Watching. She looked away quickly. After several blocks, they reached a building that looked no better than the others, but Salim knocked in a specific rhythm. The door opened, and a woman with sharp eyes pulled them inside without a word. Inside, the lights were bright. The space was clean. Several people sat around a table, talking quietly. The woman closed the door and locked it. "Who is she?" the woman asked Salim. "She bought the house," Salim said. The room went silent. The woman stared at Nida. "That house?" Nida nodded. The woman exhaled slowly. Then it started again. Nida felt dizzy. "Started what?" The woman met her eyes. "The countdown." Salim put a hand on Nida's shoulder. "They don't usually let buyers leave the first day." Nida's heart sank. "What does that mean?" "It means," the woman said carefully, "that they see something in you." Nida shook her head. "I'm nobody." Salim smiled faintly. "Nobody is harder to control." Nida thought of her jobs, her small room, her constant struggle. "I just wanted a home." The woman softened slightly. "Then you picked the wrong one. Or the only one that could change everything." Nida wrapped her arms around herself. "What happens now?" Salim looked at her, serious. "Now they will watch you, follow you, test you, and when they believe you are ready." "Ready for what?" Nida asked. Salim's voice was steady but grim. "To decide whether you become part of the house, or the one who breaks it." Nida felt fear twist into something else. Something hotter. "Break it how?" she asked. Salim met her gaze. "By going back." Nida stared at him. "You just said I can't stay there." "Not yet," Salim replied. "But the house doesn't let go easily. You bought it. That matters." Nida thought of the symbol on the wall. The notebook. The humming. Slowly, a new thought formed in her mind. "What if," she said quietly, "the house isn't just a trap?" Salim raised an eyebrow. "What if it's also proof?" Nida continued. "Proof of what they've been hiding." The woman crossed her arms. "You think you can expose them?" Nida lifted her chin. "I think they're scared of something." Salim studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "That's exactly why the house is dangerous." Nida felt her fear shift again, this time into resolve. "Then I'm not done," she said. "Not with the house. And not with them." Salim exhaled slowly. "Then get some rest. Tomorrow, we plan." From far away, carried by the wind through the broken city, Nida thought she heard it again. That same soft humming. Only now, it sounded closer. Nida did not sleep. She lay on a thin mattress in the safe house, staring at the ceiling while the city breathed outside. Every sound felt sharp. Every shadow felt like it could move. Her mind kept returning to the same image, the upstairs window of the house and the feeling that something inside had noticed her. Before sunrise, Salim returned with tea. He placed the cup near her and sat on the floor. "You look ready," he said. "I don't feel ready," Nida replied. "But I'm done running." Salim nodded. "That is usually when things change." The woman who owned the safe house, whose name was Zara, spread papers across the table. Old maps. Photos. Copies of reports. "This area was never meant to be lived in," Zara said. Years ago, before District 9 became what it is now, people built underground routes for utilities. Later, others used them for control. The house you bought sits on a central point. Nida leaned forward. Why sell it now? Salim answered. Because the pressure is shifting. New people. New money. They believe fear alone will keep everyone away. They did not expect someone like you. Someone like me? Nida asked. Someone with nothing left to lose, Zara said. Nida thought of her small rented room, her endless workdays, her savings gone in one decision. Zara was right. What do they want from me? Nida asked. Salim spoke slowly. To see if you can be scared back into silence. Or used. Or removed. And if I refuse? Nida asked. Zara looked at her carefully. Then you become a problem. Nida nodded once. Then we use that. The plan was simple but dangerous. Nida would return to the house in daylight, not hiding, not sneaking. She would enter like an owner who belonged there. Salim and Zara would stay close, watching the tunnels through old access points they knew well. They expect fear, Salim said. Not confidence. Nida stood and picked up her bag. Then let's disappoint them. The street felt different in the morning. Still broken. Still tense. But alive. People moved. Shops opened halfway. Noise replaced silence. When Nida unlocked the front door of the house again, her heart pounded, but she did not stop. Inside, the air felt heavy, but nothing moved. She walked slowly through each room, letting her footsteps echo. Upstairs, the notebook was gone. The mattress was gone. Someone had cleaned the space, as if erasing proof. Cowards, Nida whispered. She sat on the floor in the living room and waited. Minutes passed. Then a voice spoke from the wall. You came back. Nida did not jump. She looked straight ahead. It is my house. A soft laugh came from the ceiling. Ownership here is complicated. You sell fear, Nida said calmly. That only works when people believe you. The wall vibrated slightly. You think you are brave. No, Nida replied. I think you are exposed. Silence followed. Then footsteps echoed from below the floor. A panel near the kitchen shifted. A man stepped out, followed by another. Then another. They wore plain clothes. No masks. No symbols. Ordinary faces that blended into the city. You should have stayed gone, one said. Nida stood. You should not have sold the house. The men exchanged looks. Salim's voice echoed suddenly through the floor vents. We have eyes on every tunnel exit. Zara's voice followed. And copies of everything you hide. The men stiffened. You think papers matter, one said. They do when they reach daylight, Nida replied. The humming began again, louder now, but not steady. It sounded nervous. The man closest to Nida stepped forward. You do not understand what you are standing on. Nida met his eyes. I understand enough. You use fear to keep people silent. This house was a warning sign. I am changing it. She pulled out her phone and held it up. Live feed. The man froze. Smile, Nida said. You are finally visible. For the first time, fear crossed his face. Outside, sirens rose in the distance. Not police alone. Journalists. Inspectors. Groups that District 9 had learned to avoid. The men backed away slowly, melting back into the tunnels they trusted too much. The house grew quiet. The humming stopped. Salim entered through the front door minutes later, breathing hard. Zara followed. It is over, Zara said softly. Nida looked around the room. It felt lighter. The walls no longer pressed in. What happens now? Nida asked. Salim smiled. Now the house tells a different story. Weeks later, the house stood painted and repaired. Not perfect. but alive. People passed it without fear. Some even stopped to look. Nita slept inside it for the first time without hearing humming. District 9 did not change overnight. But cracks appeared. Fear lost its grip. Nita did not become rich. She did not become famous. But she became something better. She became free. And every time she locked her door at night, she smiled, knowing the most dangerous place in the city had failed to break her. The house had changed everything. And so had she.